Zacchaeus, lost little man. Rich. He had climbed the ladder of success and become the chief of the publicans, or chief tax collector. He had been able to enter into that world of the Romans, and he was serving under that umbrella. And in all reality, Israel at that time was being occupied by the Romans. It's just like when the Germans occupied France during World War II. The people hated the Romans. And so I would imagine that most people probably hated Zacchaeus. But he was rich. And when you're rich, you could buy a lot of favor. But it's interesting to me that Luke, he goes into great detail to make sure we understand the stature of this man. He told us he was a little man. And I find this to be fascinating, just as I view society, and how it is that people have a tendency to view themselves according to what they look like, how tall they are, how thin they are, how not thin they are, how short they are, by their color, by their location where they grew up. All these things that we as humans, we identify ourselves and we let it mold us into the people that we are. And not only do we consider what we value, but what others value, and how you think and perceive that somebody else sees you and makes judgments concerning you based upon these things. And many times, a whole life is shaped around these things. Many times we carry scars based upon these things. All of the often what we'd consider to be negative things about ourselves, which in most of it we have no control over. But we allow it to define us. And I'm just speculating here because Luke doesn't tell us this, but I get the impression that Zacchaeus was that type of a man. And because of his short stature, he was an overachiever. I believe he was. And he'd worked real hard to get to the position he had obtained. His riches, his wealth, his power, his ability to control other people. Yeah, that's what most people, unfortunately, that's what they're all about. But there's a flaw there. And I have identified the flaw in Mr. Zacchaeus. He was rich beyond imagination, but he was indeed a little man that was lost. And unfortunately, that's the worst position in life to be. This is Pastor Jack King with a gospel on the radio broadcast.